miracles under the sun. Greece is said to have 1,000 islands. In fact, there are at least 3 times as many. Welcome to a journey of discovery through the islands of Greece. This part of our series takes us to the real cradle of Europe, Crete, Zeus's birthplace. Our journey starts in the west of Crete near Elefonici, leads us to the hinterlands, and ends at the eastern tip of the island. Right next to the dream beaches of Crete, Chrysanthe shows us some sites where she finds a true treasure of the sea, salt of exceptional quality. Up in the mountains, we meet Kostas and his fellow shepherds. Together, we celebrate the day of sheep benediction. On the northern coast, the location where the classic Zorba the Greek was shot, former cameraman Walter Lassali tells us why Stavros was the ideal place to shoot this film. Together with Mariana, we collect the herbs she uses to make tea and oil, and also learn about nature's healing power. In Knossos, elaborate palaces teach us about a time when most Europeans still lived deep in the woods. In Matala, on the southern coast, fisherman Yosef shows us some caves just like he did over 40 years ago when sought out by hippies. Andonis shows us how important the proper wood is when making a lyre. And Manolis takes care of a grove of huge olive trees that are over 3,500 years old. We approach Europe's southernmost region from the west, Crete, the last European bastion before the Egyptian-Libyan coast. Next stop is Africa. This rocky island is home to several mountains over 2,000 meters high and has crystal clear water in its many secluded coves. Frequent western winds cause the sea to churn, carving rugged fjords into the rocks of the island. But with the sea also comes a precious gift. Not far from Elefonici, we meet Chrysanthe Tekaki among the cliffs. As a restaurant owner, she spares no effort to get the best ingredients for her kitchen. She collects salt of an especially high quality. Chrysanthe likes to come here.
If you take the sea away from me in winter or summer, when I don't have the sea nearby, I just wither. It's just the way I am. I can't bear to be shut up inside. Just sit around quietly in a chair. That would kill me.
Chrysanthe was actually born in the mountains, but has been living near the coast for many decades now and visits the sea daily. In the past, she used to go fishing with her husband. Nowadays, she collects what the sea has to offer on land. The salt is very clean, especially if Chrysanthe removes its impurities.
It's the healthiest and cleanest. I had a brother with kidney disease who couldn't take salt. His doctor recommended using only clean, natural salt. No industrial product with chemical additives. This salt has nothing added but water, moisture.
Crescente dries the salt in the sun just before she sells it for €5 per kilo. Crescente uses the salt primarily for her own needs and serves it in her tavern. She only uses ingredients she has personally harvested. In her opinion, salt plays a crucial role in the quality of a meal. For her, it's the spice of life.
All of this is ours. We buy nothing additional. Everything is local. Everything. The salt and the oil, too. Nothing is store-bought.
Directly above her salt fields, right next to her tavern, is a monastery called Moni Chrysoscalitissa. According to a remarkable legend, one of the 99 steps leading up to the monastery is supposed to be solid gold. Only those without sin and who are pure in heart can see it. It is invisible to sinners and the impure. Perhaps this legend scares visitors away, for there aren't many. Only a few kilometers away is one of the main reasons for the growing popularity of this area, in spite of the difficulty getting here. Elefonisi's famous beaches, formerly an insider tip, are still difficult to reach, but attract many water sports fans and bathers. Only a few minutes east by ship, another site can be visited directly on the cyan-colored coast. The world-famous Samaria Gorge is part of this rugged, hilly island. Due to its remote location and impassability, it has served as a refuge throughout history whenever military forces have attacked. The narrowest part, the Iron Gates, grants access to the White Mountains. It is only 3 meters wide. Directly behind the gates are mountaintops 2,400 meters high. Some still have snow patches even in the summer. Vegetation up here is sparse, and so are the animals. We ascend 1,000 meters before seeing the first sheep. Here, we also meet Kostas Kiparis, who has been a shepherd ever since he was little, just like his father and great-grandfather. Just like all shepherds, I recognize the faces of all my sheep. And there are good and bad animals in every herd, with difficult personalities. Now and then I have animals which I feel understand me. I even feel their loyalty. It may seem strange, but I talk to them. Every shepherd talks to his herd and understands what they want, need. And the animals, on the other hand, understand the shepherd. Even as a little boy, Kostas spent a lot of time herding sheep, basically half his childhood. At the age of 13, after his father had an accident, he suddenly became responsible for the entire herd and stayed in the mountain, alone with the herd. I usually stayed up here for a month without returning to the village. It was more than 1 hour away on foot, but only if you were quick and used to walking in the mountains. Sheep are pretty autonomous. These animals know their way, but a shepherd is still needed for his watchful eye and his encouraging voice. They have to be milked once a day. The elderly, including Kostas' father, knew how to predict the future by looking at the sheep's bones. The younger generation has lost this skill. I don't know what he saw and what he didn't. Sometimes he had a sly smile on his face. Sometimes he spoke of good or bad things. Still, he didn't teach us these things. He rather wanted us to know about sheep, how to make cheese, and how to survive in the mountains with very little. Kostas used to make cheese, the graviera, himself. Now he takes the milk to the valley instead and brings the cheese loaf back uphill to his old mitato. This is the name of his old stone hut, which has sheltered Kostas from the weather and the cold ever since he was young. Up here, the air and temperature create ideal conditions for the cheese to ripen. When Kostas was alone up here as a child, he got his strength from drinking sheep's milk and eating rusk and cheese. And from being outside and experiencing nature. On April the 23rd, Kostas' native village, Asigonia, celebrates the feast day of St. Yorgos, patron of all shepherds. On this day, all herds are driven to the church, offering an excellent opportunity for the shepherds to inspect the herds of their colleagues. The sheep and goats do not always happily walk the way intended for them, but prefer inaccessible paths instead. Even the experienced shepherds, no matter how many, are unable to prevent them from doing so. The benediction marks the highlight of the day. The first order of business during the minister's litany is the animal's benediction. After that, it's the shepherd's turn. They kiss the bouquet of herbs with which they have been consecrated. The whole community gets up early. All of the sheep's milk is donated on this day. Hundreds of sheep are milked, and their milk is laced with spices, heated up, and given to the guests. It is served with sweet bread. This is a relic of the tradition of the feeding of the poor. Even the sheep get a makeover on this day. They wear carefully chosen bells. The sheep are the instruments, as the shepherds say. A festive sound is intended.
Τι μου αρέσει περισσότερο εδώ πάνω?
What I like most?
Όλα.
Simply everything.
Οι πέτρες, ο αέρας.
The mountains, the rocks,
ορίζοντας.
the air, the horizon.
Όλα.
Simply everything.
Η αίσθηση της
The
ελευθερίας
freedom I
είναι
feel here is unique. There is just God and me.
Είμαι εγώ και ο Θεός.
I like that.
Και αυτό μου αρέσει.
We move along over the endless mountain chains towards the north coast. Down here, near Chania, lies most likely the most famous place in all of Crete, if not in all of Greece. Many may not realize where they are when they arrive at Stavros. Here we meet someone who knows exactly what makes this bay so special. This is the location where the world-renowned movie Zorba the Greek was shot.
Did you say dance? Come on, my boy.
Anthony Quinn starred in the 1964 black and white classic, which won 3 Academy Awards. The movie depicted the simple rural life of Greece and made it popular worldwide. Walter Lassalle was a cinematographer back then and stayed after the film was finished. He fell in love with the place and chose Greece to be his new home.
The location here was just the beach. There were no buildings, except for the little church and that house. Well, this beach was chosen by Kakuyanis because it had the necessary requirements for the story. It had the house, a little house on a beach with the mountain where the railway, the cable railway could be built, and we built a fake entrance to the mine. All that was relatively easy and cheap to do.
The film was about a young Englishman who inherits an abandoned mine on Crete from his grandfather. This is where he meets Alexis Zorbas, who helps him to get the mine up and running again.
Zorba! You bastard mountain! I'll eat your guts!
Walter Lassalle chose this small village at the foot of the mountain to be his new home and has spent his happiest years here. He was still young when he shot Zorba the Greek, and he won an Academy Award for his work as a cinematographer. He allowed the trophy to be displayed in a local tavern. One night, a fire broke out, burning the tavern to the ground, including his award. Today, there is a new tavern that claims to have been responsible for the movie's catering in 1964, although it was built later. Walter is a regular here and still revels in those past memories.
With Anthony Quinn, it was some small problems at the very beginning when he said, well, you know, it's up to you technical people to get your rehearsals, get everything right, and then I come, when you're ready, I come and I do my one take. I only do one take, I do my one take, and that's it. And so everybody sort of looked at him, and Kakuyanis didn't say anything, so I said, well, actually, Mr. Quinn, we don't work like that here. And he was very surprised because nobody ever said anything against him, you know. Nobody ever contradicted him. He wasn't used to being contradicted. But he accepted the point. I said, we technicians also have the, you know, the right to, sometimes we make a mistake. And he said, sorry, but we'll have to do that again. So we'll try not to, but of course it can happen.
In the movie, the workers needed logs from the trees in the mountains for the mine shafts. In order to transport them down to the sea, Alexis built a cable railway, which turned out to be a big challenge for filming.
The collapse of the cable railway had to be filmed twice because the first time it collapsed, it happened so fast that you couldn't catch it. It was like there, it was on one frame, it was there, and the next frame was gone. So I'd already gone on holiday because we did that. That was the last thing we'd filmed. So I'd left and gone on holiday somewhere else in Greece, and I was called back. They sent the police after to bring me back because they said that has to be redone because it's too quick. So they rebuilt a part of the cable railway and had it recollapse slowly, so it could be seen to collapse.
The owner tells us that the scene shots in the Café Neon were taken from an old film copy. Although he had to return the movie reel, he was allowed to keep a few records with the movie's soundtrack, composed by Theodorakis.
Theodorakis, if you'll pardon me saying so, was actually quite lazy. And none of the music in Zorbas is original music. It all existed. That is a well-known Greek dance called hasapiko, which is the dance of the butchers.
I never loved a man more than you.
You can spend years exploring Crete. It's a wonderful island. It's like a miniature Greece. It's got the sea in the mountains, the snow on the mountains, it's got the orchards, it's got everything that mainland Greece has, but it's sort of a little bit miniaturized. Well, I loved it ever since I saw it. And having traveled all the world, I have never found a nicer place, a more pleasant place to live. We fly like a bird over the sea.
we pass the beaches on the northern coast, which are preparing for a flood of tourists. We pass the coastal town of Rethymno with its historic Venetian city and a mosque from the 17th century up into the mountains. Here we come to Maroulas, a mountain village with 120 inhabitants, set just a few kilometers inland. A Venetian influence can still be seen here, despite all the earthquakes that have struck this region over the centuries. Here we meet Mariana Faunti-Vassel, working in the hills outside the village. She is looking for wild herbs at an altitude of 300 meters and shares this endeavor with sheep and goats. Up here, the air is very clean and free from traffic or industry pollution. Herbs therefore can grow in an ideal environment, which is appreciated by Mariana and the goats alike. Still, the goats are a welcome help, rather than competition for the herbs.
In all time, humans were watching the animals in nature or they were tasting. We can do the same. They can taste what is needable for their organism. If some plant is toxic, they don't approach.
Mariana is very happy to live up in the mountains of Crete. Here she says she can finally breathe again. She was born on the mainland in Athens and studied psychology in Paris. She has been collecting herbs in the heart of the island for over 20 years now.
Plants need our respect and our love, just like the humans. And we have to approach them with all our gratitude and respect. And they give gently their properties to us to help.
Mariana inherited the knowledge of herbs and blossoms from the elders of her village. They used traditional medicine to cure various complaints long before qualified doctors came here. She uses the plants, according to traditional recipes, to manufacture special oils. Rosemary oil is used for asthma and depression. Oregano oil is used to kill lice or to relieve menstrual cramps.
Crete is a botanological paradise. Imagine that there are about 2,000 kind of plants, that they are only here. It's like a natural pharmacy for me, this island.
Residents know that and trust Mariana to cure a lot of problems, large or small. A neighbor, for example, has eczema on his forearm. Mariana can help by administering frankincense lotion made from a recipe by Hippocrates.
I believe that nature in every place offers the medicines that the humans we are needed. In the village I have come to live, this knowledge was well known. It's a knowledge that comes from generation to generation. I think that I cannot live anymore out of nature. I live in a very quiet way of life here, with my family, and close to nature. I try to help other people if they ask, and that's my life.
Away from the plateau's wilderness, we travel to a more densely populated place on the coast. Heraklion, or Herculaneum. Hercules supposedly landed here to catch the Cretan bull. According to Greek mythology, it was a vicious creature roaming the island, killing whatever crossed its path and laying waste to cities and the landscape. Here we find the Street of the 25th of August, but in the local language it has a different name, Street of Deceit. This is not because of all the banks which open subsidiaries here, but because one could regard Heraklion as a major city, at least referred to by the residents in jest. It's only fitting to find a feature here that seems popular in tourist hotspots like this: beauty parlors which turn their visitors into fish food. Little fish tend to the visitors' feet by nibbling off the dead skin, painless and beautifying. With up to 300 days of sun a year, the greater part of everyday life takes place outside. Nowadays, Heraklion is home to 200,000 people, making it the fourth largest city in Greece. In earlier times, this was different. Its harbor belonged to a different, much bigger city located further in the back country. Knossos. About 4,000 years ago, while the rest of Europe was still living in caves, Europe's first advanced civilization developed here. A palace with more than 1,000 rooms, bathrooms equipped with underfloor heating, temples, and a working sewer system. Supposedly more than 10,000 people lived here. The Minoan civilization was highly educated and powerful, and yet their empire suddenly vanished. Why? This is a question still highly debated by scholars. We fly beyond the mountain in the inner part of the island to the south coast. We came to Heraklion from Maroulas and now arrive at a place surrounded by scandal, Matala. Matala is considered a Mediterranean Goa. Hundreds of hippies found refuge in this picturesque bay during the 1970s. They lived quite a happy life here for a couple of years before the Greek military junta drove them out. Here we meet Yosef Andrianakis, a retired fisherman. He always got along with the hippies just fine.
I
believe it was 1964 when the hippies first arrived here. About 150 of them. They were really nice, just genuinely nice people. They arrived with their instruments, long beards, and were wearing long clothes. I didn't hang out with them, but got to know 2 or 3 of them, and occasionally took them with me on my boat to go fishing. Yosef not only took them fishing, but also showed them secluded beaches and caves. Once, he received some hashish as a thank you. Not knowing what to do with it, he asked the local policeman. He knew what it was good for. There's a cave one can enter, but the entrance is so narrow, it's only accessible via canoe. Inside there's a small beach, really 4 to 5 meters wide. The cave stretches almost all the way to Matala. One can only get through with a canoe and flashlight. It's that narrow and also pitch black. During the Stone Age, people living near the coast inhabited numerous caves. During Roman times, they served as burial grounds. In the 1960s, hippies lived here, and Matala sprang to life. Over time, more and more hippies arrived here, from Greece, from all over the world. They mingled, singing all day. We called them flower children. They bothered no one. Some were looking for work. At Maria the Baker, for example. Now and then Yosef was a little jealous, for he had to get up very early every day to go out fishing. Then came others, crazy people causing trouble. Sometimes they stole something and the whole thing began to stink, as we say. For example, after a woman took a bath naked and went to the coffee house to get a glass of water, still naked, our fathers complained. So did we. Finally, it reached a point where simply too many had arrived, and the military came. With the help of the police, they sent them home. After the hippies left, Matala changed. It grew. Tourists discovered the former idyllic fishing hamlet. Many taverns opened. The caves became a popular sightseeing spot. Did you like Matala better back then? No, now I like it better. Back then we were very poor and a little crazy. The serenity of the place belongs to bygone times. Today it is a mecca for tourists. Very few go fishing. Yosef has retired. His old boat belongs to his son-in-law now, who uses it to cart around tourists. At the foot of Mount Ida, we find the Messara Plain. It was once Rome's granary, and it is still a fertile piece of land. Surrounded by olive orchards lies Saros. Here we meet someone who made Saros famous, Antonis Stefanakis, one of Crete's last instrument makers and a true master of his profession. Antonis has had many jobs during his life. He was a shepherd, worked as a truck driver in Germany, which is why he likes speaking German, was a carpenter and a dancer, all of which he did with enthusiasm. You can't make instruments without love. You can't play them without love. You can't sing without love. You can't do anything without love. Antonis made his first lyre in Germany. His yearning for music from Crete was simply too strong. He just had to hear the sound of a lyre again. Manufacturing instruments became a passion, the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. I usually dream about what to do in life, about something new. I'm always dreaming about what else I can do. Antonis is always looking for exceptional wood, which he wants to speak, to sing. Now and then he even sacrifices beams from his own house, which was built centuries ago from Lebanese cedar wood. It simply has the best sound. This Lebanese cedar was brought here by the Turks 500 years ago. Our house was built back then. It is a very aromatic wood and thus stays healthy, free of woodworm. This is one of the best woods for the Cretan lyre. Antonis not only makes lyres, but also mandolins, bouzouki, violins, and lutes, all of which are unique. Every now and then, he has an epiphany. There was a woman on my doorstep. When she entered, I asked, "Can I help you?" "No, I'm just watching." And then she said, "Mr. Stefanakis, you are doing it incorrectly." "And how do you do it?" I asked. "Well, let me show you. Like this. And this, and this, she showed me. And now you try." I was right here, just like I am now, and tried it, and it was terrific. This is when Antonis woke up. He was dreaming yet again. However, he took this vision to heart and made his next lyre in this new fashion. It was made from thousands of little pieces, just as in his dream. And these are 16,000 pieces of wood. 16,000 pieces of wood glued together. And the result sounds so marvelous. Antonis had this assembly method patented. As long as I am in my workshop, my mind is free of thoughts. Whether there are people outside or I have a family. No, I am just here for my love. 40 years ago, this lyre, made from a piece of pear wood, started his career in Germany. He got so much recognition that he decided to become an instrument maker. Ever since then, he has fashioned hundreds of instruments, which have made him famous far beyond Crete's borders. Groups from America often visit, students and their teachers. And in the end, I say, when choosing a profession, please love it first. Love it a lot. Antonis Stefanakis loves his work, his life, and music. Starting on the southern coast, we came to Tsaros from Matala to discover the Amari Basin, and in the end, leave the island from Agios Nikolaos in the east. The Amari Basin, a large, fertile valley. It is well known for its famous Cretan olive oil. Excavations have revealed table olives 3,500 years old. Wild olives came from the Middle East, but it is due to the Cretans that olive trees were planted and cultivated for the first time. Along with the Greek conquests, the art of olive cultivation spread to the whole Mediterranean area. Nowadays, olive oil is the island's main source of income, right after tourism. This is where we meet Manolis Charkoutsis, who wants to save the olive tree. He and his co-workers are witnessing something alarming. More and more olive trees are dying, especially the old ones.
Υπάρχει νόμος, ας πούμε, από το δασαρσείο που προστατεύει το...
There's a law that protects the oak tree, the plane tree, and the palm tree, but none that protects the much older olive tree. Even though it has nourished mankind for thousands of years now. The progress of civilization is directly connected to the olive. Manolis is worried. Increasingly more trees have been cut down because their wood is in high demand, or they are in the way of construction projects, or because they are used as firewood. Mr. Grigori, this tree has been cut. Who cut it? I did. Why? To get the shabby stuff out of there. If you hadn't cut it, it would be just as big as this one over there. Yes, this one was big. Why did you cut this one? Firewood. Okay, so did you burn it? Of course. Using laboratory samples, some trees from this region have been dated to be several thousand years old. These results also allow another method of dating trees in a very simple way, measuring their circumference. Only with scientific methods are we able to determine how old a tree actually is. Yet, in another place in the east of Crete, it was done like this, and it turned out that the tree was 3,500 years old. All measuring we do, the height, the circumference, show that the trees are 3,500 years old. However, this is just an estimate. This tree, most likely planted by the Minoans, has a circumference of 12.4 meters. Local initiatives are eager to undertake a comprehensive survey of all trees in the region, even using the simplest methods. We started with a rule that if 3 people couldn't reach around a tree, it meant that it was very old and had to be registered. As time went on, we understood that 3 were not enough to have all trees registered, and that rather we would need 30. 11 people are clearly not enough for this olive tree. This makes it at least 3,500 years old, planted by the Minoans. The initiative congratulates the olive farmer for having a prime specimen that once was almost cut down. Despite the optimistic atmosphere, Manolis is still eager to maintain his ambitions. Olive trees are felled daily for firewood or public projects or simply land utilization. We need precautionary measures now. Otherwise, in 10 years, you will only see olives in pictures or photos.
Μετά από 10 χρόνια, ας πούμε, δεν θα τα βλέπουμε μόνο σε φωτογραφίες.
the most historically charged part of the island, the La City Plateau is our last stop. It is the real birthplace of Europe. Scientists have found fossils of elephants and hippopotami dating back to the Stone Age, along with the remains of early settlements. Additionally, this plateau is the birthplace of Zeus, god of all gods, at least according to mythology. This is a truly remarkable aspect of our civilization process, for Zeus loved Crete. Transformed into a bull, he abducted beautiful Europa and brought her here. She served as a namesake, not just for Crete, but for the whole continent, and bequeathed a paradise, the Greek islands.